So we're on the Unity website, and if you scroll down, if you're not familiar with Unity or you haven't downloaded Unity yet, you just go to unity.com, and then from there you could just click Get Started, and you'll see that there's different plans that you could choose from. Go ahead, go to Individual, and if you're a student and you have a student email account, then the student account would probably be your best bet, especially if you're between the ages of 13 and 16. If you are just a professional, you're trying to try this out, trying to see what augmented reality is all about, just go ahead and click the personal, and you just go ahead and get started. If you're a new user, you could click Start Here. If you're a returning user, you could go here. You just go ahead and get started, and then you agree to the terms and download, and then it will download. And so it's a package, it's the Unity Hub, and once you have the Unity Hub, you go ahead, double click it, and it will take you to a place that allows you to download Unity. And so now that I have Unity, this is the Unity Hub. Go ahead and make sure everything is refreshed and up to date. And from there, we have our main area, which is with all our projects. And so before we get started with making a project, just a little bit about Unity Hub. So the projects tab is where all the projects are. If you're trying to learn new things about, first-person shooter games, karting micro games, platformers, they have a lot of great tutorials about how to make games. And there's tons of templates and everything, so sort of just dive deep into gaming. And if you want to look at some more tutorials and other projects, you could do that. In the community tab, you could find all the communities, whether it's the blog, it's forums and all that, to help you find community within the Unity workflow. Because there's a lot of developers, there's a lot of coders within gaming and augmented reality that are very, very useful when you're trying to create experiences. Because at the end of the day, all this is about experiences. And so this is where the installs come in, where if you don't have any installs, you go to Add, and then you choose whatever install that you want. Typically, the top one that's already chosen is the latest one, and I would suggest doing that. If you are more familiar with Unity and you want to use an older build, you can do that. And I would shy away from the pre-releases yet, because even though there's a lot of new stuff coming down the pipeline, they are really in alpha and beta, and you don't necessarily know how they're going to work. And so it's sort of a lot of trial and error here. And these are the things that you should focus on a little bit more. And so when you click Next, you go ahead, choose your Visual Studio community. You choose your Visual Studio development tools, because this is where you could do all the coding and stuff. And then choose Android build support. And with Android build support, you want to make sure that both of these are chosen as well, SDK and NDK, and OpenJDK. And all that stuff sounds like a bunch of just jargon and buzzwords, but these are really, really crucial things for when you're trying to do Android development. And then also do iOS build support. And if there's any other ones that you want to do, feel free to do that. You don't have to worry about like tvOS or Mac or anything for the most part, because most of this is mobile development. But you want to make sure that these 4 things are always checked when you're working on a project and you add a new Unity version. You can always add more later. And if you want to add documentation, you can as well. Then you click Next and you download it all. I have 2 different versions, and most of them are Android and iOS already. I don't like to update mine too much, but you can if you want. And so from there, we have the opportunity to create a new project. So we'll just go ahead, create a new project, and we'll say that this is AR app without code. So we have AR app without code, and we want to choose 3D, because in augmented reality, everything is 3D. If you want to do a 2D game, you could do that, but let's just stick with our regular 3D right now. And so you click Next, and then it's going to set everything up for you. Okay, so we have Unity set up, and this is pretty much the regular workflow for Unity. I have a custom layout, and so typically I have my own layout that I like to set up, but you'll probably have a 2x3 layout. You could change it And you can create new ones like you see here by going up to the bottom or the top right. I'll go back to my layout because this is the one that I like, because I'm an animator, and so I'd like to have my timeline on the bottom. And we will probably get into some animation, but from there, we want to set up our workflow. And so first things first is you want to go to build settings or file and then build settings. And then from there, you want to make sure that you're choosing whatever platform that you want. So for me, I'll be using Android. If you have iOS, you can do that as well. Notice how if you choose the other ones like PS4, Xbox, you have to go to the download page, and the download page is where all of the information is for you to add those packages. You could also do that in the Unity Hub by going back to installs and just adding a module to the installs. And so I'll choose Android, and then I'll switch platform. And you'll notice that there's a Unity symbol right here. One thing you want to do is make sure that you switch platforms very early, because the more stuff you add to your project, the longer it's going to take for it to switch platforms. And so from there, you have your player settings. It's AR app without code. You want to make sure that that's the product name. For version number, I wouldn't worry too much about that. And then for company name, for me, Iltopia Studios. Oops. Iltopia Studios. So Iltopia Studios, that is mine, but you can name it whatever you want. And when you name it, you can go to other settings, and you'll notice how it changes it down here. So Iltopia Studios, AR app with code. So this will be your package name that you're working with. And another thing that you want to do is you want to, we'll get back to the identification and stuff later. And so that's all set up. So you have your player settings, everything is set up. Boom.